reduce costs for companies, which will lead to, I think, GCs inclining more towards arbitration.
Very interesting. As a professional, I would agree that, at least some aspects to a trial, if I can refer to an arbitration as a trial, cannot be sort of done online. At least, leading evidence or arguing the matter finally, as a matter of fact. So very interesting. Mike, what's your thoughts on this G? It's interesting that this judgment of resolutions on GE power, interpretations to suggest that the court observed that parties can also select foreign arbitration. My question is the background that yes, there was actually raised my question, which is the contract mechanism, the interpretations and the background of in the contract councils in terms of considerations for choosing policy for domestic arbitrations. I feel that with the amount of this judgment, the possibility of domestic selecting for this there.
So I think I'm first going to give a disclaimer like Sanjukta did. Since it's in G's favor, I'm very happy about that. But I think I have a tad nationalistic view here. This judgment, or rather the contract that we're talking about, was an anomaly. At least in my experience, two Indian parties very rarely agree to a foreign seat. There's a lot of pushback. And that's because of the enhanced costs involved. And now, since India is becoming such a pro-arbitration hub, at least the government and the Supreme Court with the Arbitration Bar Association coming up, we're promoting it in every way. So I don't think we should be talking about foreign-seated arbitrations. We should be talking about India. And we've got competent institutes now. And they're doing the arbitrations at 1/10 of the cost. So why are we looking at institutes outside India? And I think also in terms of reciprocation, foreign institutes, I don't think they barely appoint Indian arbitrators. It's all foreign arbitrators. So there is a lot of, there isn't geographical diversity in that sense. So why should we not promote our own country there? And one may also think that the scope of judicial intervention reduces if you take up a foreign seat, but eventually you're going to come for enforcement back to India. So I think at best what India needs to currently look at is the enforcement issues. I mean, I think I've been stuck in an enforcement procedure for the last 4 years, and the other parties used every tip and trick in the book to postpone that or procrastinate on that. So I think that's what we really need to work on. But India is the next best thing.
So before you sort of conclude, it'll be good to also have your 2 bits on the mediation landscape. I mean, it'll be interesting to know from you because it'll be another general counsel's perspective. How are you thinking about the new Mediation Act and the landscape? What are the offerings there? Are there any offerings at all?
So again, I think I'd read a quote by Fali Nariman that had said that, the future of arbitration is bright because the future of litigation is not. And I think somewhere what he also said that arbitration is losing its spirit. So maybe the same quote can now be applied to mediation as well. I think, but we still have an issue regarding enforcement. So that is something that we, it needs to be worked on. And I think that's why hybrid models are becoming more and more popular worldwide. So we're looking at ARB med ARB, or we're looking at even litigation med litigation now, which I think started in Singapore last year. So I think that really helps. And from an international perspective, or rather from an institutional perspective, whether in India or outside, the only way to promote mediation is to promote mediators, which means creating more mediators. And I don't think institutions at this point are promoting nascent, or what I'd like to call infant mediators. They go in for their training, but if you see all the empanelment conditions, you need to have prior mediation experience. So it's like a chicken and egg situation. How can you not promote the mediator to get his first mediation? So, these are small issues that are still there. And I think these are teething problems. They're going to get better, but we need to look at these.
I just want to
Yeah.
add here on the both points which we have talked about. Although I'm in favor of mediation, but mediation has certain loopholes which you are talking about, because it is not that favorable to the complex commercial disputes, right? So for that you have to have the trained mediators only then, or maybe then in case of we have to go to arbitration in that case where they are already trained. Then only we can go further to it, right? And regarding the GE case also, there's a good judgment actually from one perspective, that it gives the autonomy to the parties to decide, right? And it maybe the both parties are decide that although they are Indian companies, but they are having the 90% stake. Maybe the parent companies are in a different jurisdiction. Then of course they may decide that maybe in your case they have decided Zurich, right? And but all the case hearings were in Mumbai. Right, the cost was already reduced, but maybe because of the neutrality factor, that is that judgment is important. Actually, at least it's giving basically court feels that it's the party has to decide where they have to resolve their disputes. Right.
So point of am I allowed in terms of time constraints?
We'll have to
Okay.
cover it very quick. So,
Yeah. So I think in terms of complex disputes, I think the hybrid model really works from that perspective. And I think we need to keep an open mind towards mediation from the perspective that we shouldn't be considering that mediation fails. Like ma'am had just said, that there's a right time for it. I mean, there are judges who are actually, who in their judgments are writing that the mediation has failed. Mediation just doesn't fail. There's a right time for it. It could be at the beginning, at the end of even an arbitral award,
Right.
or in the middle of your litigation.
we
So, yeah.
very often sort of, as practitioners, or Mr. Sen would agree, we've seen that, at the time of conclusion of evidence, very often parties make the suggestion, we sit down at these tables and do this, whether it's, negotiating out of court